Okay, well, we have a concern. Oh no. Please, no. Should be telling when I'm like, oh my god, this planet has life. I don't want to do this. What is this? It's lower gravity, which is cool. The oceans have... Oh, come on. Why the fuck do you do this? Ugh. There was something, and I can't remember exactly what it was. There was something about something that got me thinking about lumber. And, like, current American tariffs on lumber, even though, like, a lot of lumber that's used for construction comes from and grows in Canada. And it's like, oh my god. And it's like, I don't know. I'm I don't know. Not to get political, but there's some, like, serious concerns in life right now. For a lot of people. And, you know, it kind of is what it is. And I'm wondering... Because, you know... I guess this is the kind of thing they do. Or they don't have, like, a huge library of creatures, I guess. I mean, they're like, okay, we're gonna make this animation set. Okay, cool. How many creatures can we get? Let's make 5 creatures, for each animation, for each set of animations or whatever, and it's probably more. It's like, that's where the variety is gonna come in. And, like... I don't know. I mean, I guess really it's like... Okay, there's some variety, there's some interesting ideas, but also, like, what's the purpose of... What's the purpose of the herding cage-brain grazer, or the pack scarab? There's sometimes where you see the same creature, but different... But maybe they're a different size, and they're also a completely different temperament. It's like... there are some just, like, copy and paste, and then change... Or, like, you know, like, copy my homework but change it up a little bit type of thing. There is some of that. And, yeah, like... I don't know. I mean, well, okay, I want to say, like, how I would do it. But how I would do it also involves, like, an entire character creation system. But I think how I would do it is I would probably focus on, like, okay, here are some Seed World things. Like, okay, so, like, yeah, there should be some alien things that behave completely different to everything you find on Earth. I mean, they still need to function they still need to function in a, a hierarchy, in a food chain, which, involves a couple things here and there. So, like, what's the cow? What's the sheep? What's the eagle? The rabbit? What's the lizard? What's the, any number of those things, right? And just have, like, in Star Citizen, they have the Quasi-Grazer, which is, like, yeah, just kind of wherever humans are, they take Quasi-Grazers because they're, like, a source of, because they're a farm animal. And presumably that's why a lot of the life is here. Although, who knows? Who knows, really? Because I don't care about the lore enough to read it. It's kind of crazy too, right? That, like, there's just a bunch of lore. There's just a bunch of books in, the Elder Scrolls that, like, that was one of the problems with the Fight for Pyro event in Star Citizen, is that they relied too much on people reading. And people reading is, the least, like, that's gonna get, like, the least amount of people. And, well, okay, and the problem was that, like, the data pads that you could read didn't work, like, 90% of the time. So people who wanted to look at it couldn't, because it wasn't working. Let's get a good look at you. Cesium. Casium? Casium, probably. I don't know. Oh, burbs. Cockatrice. God, wouldn't it be cool if this was, like, I don't know. I think it'd be cool if this was, if they just went and were like, you know what, let's make this space fantasy. Or science fantasy, excuse me. I really want to say space fantasy, and I should just, like, embrace that. It's like, yeah, I mean, probably what I want to make is science fantasy, but I'm gonna call it space fantasy because that just makes more sense to me, and that's like what rolls off the tongue. And I don't want to, like, I don't know, stumbling over myself to correct is kind of dumb. Especially when it does become a point of semantics. What are you? Trihorn Grazer? Oh. Pretty cool. Sorry, I saw cockatrice and I was just like, I don't know. I really need to play Baldur's Gate 3. There's just like... I don't know. If there was a video game, and there probably is, but like a video game where like one of your party members can be turned into like a statue, then you have to physically figure out how the fuck to move them around, I feel like that'd be really cool. You know what? Okay, the way I would do that in a video game... Alright, so I would want to have procedural dungeons, right? I wouldn't want the game to hold on to that information. So, like, if you want to re-enter a dungeon, like, the enemies are going to drop the same... The enemies are going to be the same, they're going to drop the same stuff, but you're going to have to go through a puzzle again. Like, and it's just, like, grindable, repeatable content. A la Mystery Dungeon. And, like, yeah, that works well enough. Very... Yeah, that works well enough. But... And I guess, obviously, there would be permanent locations, so, you know, you might be in a situation where, like, oh, your party member has been turned into a statue in the Emperor's Palace. And yeah, they're probably gonna be in that same location. I would just have it, though, if it happens in a procedural dungeon, they just get teleported to, like, the front of the... just outside of the dungeon. The first accessible permanent space. Okay, it would be funny if they, like, ended up in an auction or something. God. Or getting turned into items. Oh god. Which I think that can happen in Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm curious how in-depth that is. I love transformation. And it's just a thing. I won't apologize for being myself. And I won't apologize for making things weird, because I could make things weirder. But, and that is definitely not that weird, I think, to say. Okay, maybe saying I could make it so much worse, that is weird, but The statue thing is yeah. God, there was a fursuiter on their Instagram was just like, I got approached by somebody who was like, I love your fursuit. I love your bunny fursuit because I'm into feet. And I was like, what the fuck? Wow. That's and like, I mean, and listen, like, I can tell you right now, like, that suitor, I mean, like, the only time I think I've ever thought of saying anyone was a fursuit crush, like, you know, their suit is just like, their suit looks good, they maintain it very well, the proportions on it, I think, are, like, perfect. Like, there's something about the proportions that I don't have a good way of saying it, but, like, you know, just, like, if, I guess, like, if I was going to draw a character, like, that is probably the proportion I would wanna have. And, you know, I don't think I've... You know, if I was talking to that suitor, but right now, I don't think they'd... I think we could continue having a conversation. Or leave it there, and it wouldn't be awkward at all. It's like... I don't know. I mean, listen, though. I don't know. I don't know. There's something about, like, social interaction that's just a thing that is perhaps lacking nowadays. To some degree. Well, several degrees. Although, you know, I will say, I guess, it's a weird thing to say, I guess, but, like, well, it's not weird. It's nice to have a friend who, like, you can get, who you can at least talk about weird stuff with, where they're not gonna judge you for it. Oh, they might judge you, but, like, it's like, okay, this person is into this. It's cool. If it gets too much, I can tell them no, but, you know, I'll be here for them to talk to, and I'll expect them to be there to talk for me, and if that doesn't work out, then eh. See, the way I wanted to say that, the way I had wanted to initially say that was something slightly more unhinged of, like, oh yeah, I mean, we all want that friend who I could just message, like, you know, I want to huff your stanky paws. And they just be like, lol. You know? I mean... not necessarily that in particular, but, like, you know, a friend who's on that level of familiarity with you. But that is also a weirder way to put it, and I kind of regret having said that. Not really, though. I think I've made the point, got the point across. Bone shell. I thought it said bombshell. I was like, what the fuck? Is this Final Fantasy? Okay, so like, well, I don't know, we'll see. I kind of like this planet. I gotta... Like the... Like the coastal wildlife is annoying. The waters are biological. I wonder what that means. Cause like... Cause we have fucking stuff in our... Like there's microbes in water on Earth. Is that biological, or is like... Or is it suggesting that like... The waters are filled with... Whatever the fuck. Also the bone shells with the sealant. Okay. Stimulant. I'm trying to think, I saw that and I assumed immunosuppressant, but like, what is that from Cyberpunk, an immunosuppressant? No, it's an immunobooster. Interesting. Because, I mean, I guess you would want... In some cases, you would definitely want an immunosuppressant, because your immune system... Like, there would be times when your immune system wants to kill something that actually is helping you. But probably more times than not, you would want to boost your immune system so it can better protect you from things, but... It's like either or, I guess. I don't want to take a super close look at these dudes, but I do have to admit, like... I don't know. There's a lot of, there are a lot of different things. Like, that head, the way that works, having a bunch of, like, antenna... Yeah, it seems kind of cool. Also yellow grass, that's definitely a thing. Trying to remember, there was a thing I think I saw about like why grass is green. I think it's like green is like the average between two sort of useful things or whatever. So like it's just that's why it's the most common. That's why the grass is green. It's because it's like just the common, like that color in particular is the way it interacts with light or whatever is not necessarily like the best, because I think it's like, yeah, because like if you don't get enough, because if you're not absorbing enough light, if you're a plant and you're not absorbing enough light, then you die. If you're absorbing too much light, and too much energy, then you die. And green is, like, you know, there's a range, of course, but that's how that works. So I guess on different planets, yeah. I guess on different planets it would, by that logic, be different. Oh god. One sci-fi thing that is always stuck with me. So when we read Brave New World in high school, and that book opens up, like, it is very much, like, it goes through, like, the entirety of what this sort of dystopian world looks like, and there's a caste system, a whole-ass caste system. Every baby is born from, like, in a test tube. And it was just, like, the way it opens up, it talks about, like, a hatchery, like a human hatchery. And, so, like, the efficiency and, you know, like, cleanliness or whatever of it. And, like, that, for some reason, that always, like, disgusted me. I mean, like, I don't know, it's like, I mean, yeah, I guess if you get to the point where, like, yeah, you can just, you know, have an entire facility that's, you know, test tube grown babies, then yeah, I mean, like, live births are probably going to look disgusting to you. And to be clear, I mean, like, the thought of just, like, the hatcheries were the thing that disturbed me. The hatcheries were the thing that seemed disgusting. Because it's just, like, taking this precious thing and just, like, economizing it where it need not be economized. But sorry, I was just thinking about, like, lower gravity and, like, higher gravity and, like, you know how Superman's, like, because basically his planet is a much harsher environment, he can just go to Earth and be, you know, Superman, but it's not, he doesn't really have any superpowers, he just grew up on a rougher planet from a rougher place. I was just thinking of, like, alright, so what if humans found aliens, and, like, they were on a lower gravity planet, and, you know, not to the same degree, but, you know, humans show up and it's like, holy shit, like, we're really strong, relatively to the people who live here, like, they're, you know, like, we have a superior tactical edge, let's conquer the shit out of these people. Because, you know, humans be human. Humans be human. Humaning? I don't know. But, ooh, that's nice. Oh, what's photo mode? We gotta take a photo here. I know it's sort of stereotypical thing here. Saturation. Bring it up. Grunge, filter intensity like 50%. Oh, I got Discord notification. And then naturally, like, I know that there's concerns about, like, there's, like, alright, so, what if somebody had a pregnancy in 0G, like, how would that affect the baby? You know? And, you know, by comparison, how would that affect, you know, like, how would more gravity affect a baby growing? And that would be, like, where that sort of a facility would be a thing. And, you know, there is also Oh, and like, so, you know, obviously a hatchery does not need to be a caste system. It like, it could be this sort of socialist, like, thing where, like, I mean, really, like, you know, like, well, in real life, there's a lot of, like, expectations put on, like, parents, you know? But not everybody grows up with parents. So it's like, you know, like, I can understand your point with this or that, but, like, you need to consider that not everybody, like, this isn't the situation that everybody grows up with. You can't just assume that this is how things are going to work. You know, in Brave New World, they would literally, like, hypnotize and, like, indoctrinate babies to, like, you're going to be a working class, you're going to be a, you know, a manager class or whatever. Manager class. You know what I mean, though. Like, you're gonna work in the food industry, you're gonna work in the entertainment industry, you're gonna, you know, do this, you're gonna do that. And again, like, you know, it's a whole free will thing at that point. I'm just thinking in my thing that, like, I would probably want it to be as, like, in, oh, I guess we're going back to the... Damn, okay. Guess we're going back to the tropical forest, then. I mean, I want there to be, like... the main setting that I want, I also kind of want it to be, just a, what's the term I'm thinking of? I mean, I want it to be a very open-ended sort of thing. There's two things I'm trying to think of. I want the system to be setting agnostic, where, like, you know, if you want to run a sci-fi campaign, a sci-fi tabletop, it's a tabletop RPG. If you want to run a, sci-fi game, then you can run a sci-fi game. If you want to run medieval, you can run medieval. The sci-fi, or the science fantasy setting I want to run, I want it to be, like, I don't want it to be, like, super hard with, like, oh, there's only 100 planet, or there's only 100 systems. There's only this system and that system, and they have, like, these crucial interlocking economies. Because they would, but it's difficult to necessarily pin that down, you know? So, like, yeah, if you want to make a setting, if you want to have your tabletop game have this setting or that setting, you know, then do it. If you want to tell a super cyberpunk story, then, you know, make a system, or make a star system around that idea. If you want to make something very Star Wars, then make a system or a set of systems around that idea, you know? think we're doing pretty well on time. I'm assuming that, like, the first 2 episodes were about an hour combined. And this one's about 40 minutes so far. So that's not terrible. I don't know, dude. I also need to think of, like, one thing I've been doing a lot of, one thing I want to do a lot of is, I need to do more drawing, I need to do more art, I need to do more story stuff, and, like, my persona and my OC should be an outlet that I am, like, chomping at the bit to continue doing stuff, and I just, like, haven't. And I don't know, it's like the setting is, I don't know, maybe I just need to get some inspiration from some things. I don't know. I've created this, like, world where, and one trope in my space fantasy thing is gonna be, like, there's, like, what is a god? Right? Like, and there are some times where you'll find creatures that are, like, are they gods, or are they just very powerful magical beings? I'll leave that for you to decide. But definitely there are, and, like, what they think they are is also something. But one thing is that there's, like, a planet, like a sort of planet keeper archetype where, like, their magic, their source of power comes from the planet, and, like, if they left the planet, they would either have no power or literally not be able to survive. And I like that idea, and especially there's a lot of ways it could work. There's quite a like, I mean, for one thing, are they a ruler? Are they an entity? Are they a ruler? Are they an observer? Were they born that way? Were they did they seek out that power? Were they forced? Was that power forced onto them? Like, there's a lot of different ways to do that, and especially, like, one thing, like, if you have a star system with, like, every planet is, like, named after it's not only named after a god, but it's, like, you know, like, has its own god, basically. I don't know, I think it's a cool idea. Okay, so I need to go find whatever fauna, and I think I'm gonna have to find it at a very particular biome that I have not yet seen here. Volcanic. So yeah, one of my issues though, I don't really want there to be violence. Kind of thought of, like, one thing is that I don't necessarily, I don't hate action. I don't, like, you know, necessarily want to, like, well, as a storyteller, as a creative person, I don't necessarily want to encourage violence. I guess I don't necessarily want to encourage, I feel like there's a better way to say it, but I don't want to encourage also just, you know, rolling over and taking it. Like, you know, like, standing up for yourself and, you know, sometimes, you know, fighting tyranny, I guess, or, you know, defending yourself isn't a bad thing, certainly. And sometimes, unfortunately, that gets violent, but, like, at the same time, you know, I don't want to, and I don't want that to be, left out, but I also don't want it to be, I also don't want to glorify violence at all. So, like, how much action can I have in whatever story thing? And then it also seemed, because I like weapons, from, like, a mechanical and, like, from, like, a mechanical standpoint. So, like, there'd also be some sort of, there'd also be some sort of emphasis on, like, yeah, I am a character who uses these weapons. I'm not really a fighter, but also, I'm not really a fighter, but these are the weapons I use, and it's kind of weird. I do have, one character, Maddox, who's, like, entire thing is supposed to be, like, that, like, his entire character arc is supposed to be, like, that he's, like, what the fuck is the button? Wasn't it F? Just press F, not hold F, right. Like, Maddox's entire thing is that he's the toxically masculine character who learns to not be toxically masculine. And I guess that's part of it, right? I guess we can talk about it more in the next episode. Till then, have a good day. Great day even. Chowskis.